Mike Ragland, a little bit of local celebrity in the past year or so, huh?
I don't know about that, Tony, but it's been a different kind of a year that I've spent. That's for sure.
A lot of folks might not know you worked for the police department for years.
I did. I was there from 1967 till 2007. So, just a few months shy of 40 years.
So people recognize the name, and all of a sudden, a book popped out called Bertha. Tell me a little bit about what went into that and what made you decide to become an author.
Well, for the last 15 or so years, I guess, with the police department, I was the principal grant officer. I wrote grants, and not really by choice when it started, but that was kind of an assignment. But we were quite successful with those. And when I got out and retired from the police department, people always retire and they say, "Oh, we're going to travel, we're going to travel." I love to have done that, but my wife has some disability issues, and that wasn't going to happen. So, I've been a history student like forever, and so I thought, well, I'll write a couple of columns for the Rome News, and see what they think. And I did, and fortunately for me, they printed them, heavily edited to start with, I must add. And then as more I kept sending in, and people were saying that they liked them, there were a lot of nostalgia stuff, a lot of local Rome, Floyd County history, some humor, kind of dry humor, I guess, like a lot of folks compared it to, well, it was a very cheap comparison to Grizzard or Ludlow Porch, but it was kind of that kind of a humor kind of a thing. And they seemed to like the columns, so I did those for 3 or 4 years, and they got to where they didn't edit them anymore much, some. But they were printing them, and I thought, well, I wanted to write a book. It's a history book, and it was a book on a Reconstruction period from 1865 till about 1880. I just kind of blundered into it doing genealogy, and I thought this will be interesting, and it's really kind of dark. It's kind of a rough book. That was a rough period in the South. It might have been as bad as it got. But it all took place around Chattoogaville, Galesville, Alabama, Holland, and into that part of Floyd County. And it seems there was two families, the Weavers and the Johnsons, that after the war was over, they had served together, but they hated each other. They had some real issues, and it was, it was kind of like some of the other feuds, only it never really got the kind of the kind of mention or notoriety of some of the big ones. But it was pretty bloody anyway. And so I started doing research on it and had about 2 years worth of stuff as the columns were proceeding. And then I ran into a retired school teacher, J.T. Bishop, and he brought in a little Police Gazette magazine from 1946 and said, "Well, since you was a police officer, I guess you knew all about her." And it was Bertha Gossett Hill. And I said, "No, I've never heard of her." And I read the column, and it was really way out there. I mean, occult and all kind of swamp people from Armurchie, and I thought, no, I don't even believe it. But I made a copy, and I went home, and next week I went into the library and asked Pat Milligan to type her name in and see what happens. And oh man, stuff started popping up everywhere. So then we went on the internet and looked, and there was newspaper articles from New York Times and all over the South. I found a fella up in New Jersey that collected and sold those old Real Detective, True Detective, Vital Detective, and all those. And he had 8 different ones at her end. So I got those, and they were all different, but there were a few consistencies. And so then I started interviewing people in Floyd County that were 80 plus. And if they were here then, 80 years old or better, they remembered it. She galvanized the community. So I just really got interested in her, and that's where the book came from. It came from research, from interviews, from newspapers, from I don't know, just all kind of people that was there. And she worked in the building we were in right now, which is this is the Rome Area History Museum now, but it was McClellan's at that time, 5 and 10, and that's where she worked when this happened. And it's been real good. The book is done excellent locally. Before it really went on Amazon and Kindle and places, we had mailed out 26 states and 3 countries, and some of them multiple, like Germany. It's 4 or 5 copies have been to Germany, and now I sent one to Jordan. You tell me why, I don't know, but I don't know who, and several to Australia. And so now on Kindle, I ain't no way I can keep up with it. so you know that she's out there. But she's done real well, and most people really enjoyed the book. It was a very it's a very fast read, what they tell me. In fact, we had to actually have places to slow it down so we could actually catch your breath, I guess you would say. But I think it was done really just to preserve the history, because it was about gone. No, you know, I mean, she was alleged. You'll have to read it to find out if you think she's guilty or not. But it was an alleged black widow from Rome, Floyd County, born in Cherokee County, Alabama. And talking to people that actually knew her, she was one of the nicest ladies you ever met to your face. And then maybe she was, if you know otherwise. I don't know. You'll have to. I got everything in the book that I could from the court records, from the trial records, and it's up to the individual to make their own determination of how this thing comes out.
Now, is this your only book you're going to release? Or
no. I did another little book for the, it's already out there. It's called The Legend of the Courage Wolf. It's a little 10,000 word short story, and it was actually written for the Cave Spring Historical Society, who has a Cherokee cabin project they found in the middle of town in a building, and they're trying, well, actually, I'm a member of that. We've bought it, and we're trying to restore it, and it'll be there forever, hopefully, for school kids and a lot of people to come and visualize. We've got colleges waiting to do archaeological digs, and it was a fundraiser. I donated to writing, and the guys that did the cover, Schroeder Vision, Bill and Vicki Schroeder, they donated the cover work. Paul Moses, who's a graphic designer, he did illustrations in that book, and he donated those, and it's a little $10 book. But every penny of it goes, there's no profit here. Every dime of it goes to the Cave Spring Historical Society's cabin project, and it's done quite well too. We brought it out in January, and it's getting close to probably 1,000 copies so far, so it's doing okay. I mean, but plus that would be another one, and I've got two I'm working on about halfway through. One is going to be a I don't know how to say it. I guess just a conglomeration of a lot of my columns from the blog I've got and from the newspaper, and some other short stories, and that's working on it. But I didn't just want to do a book of short stories. I thought, well, let's tie some history in here. And so I looked, prior to 1952 in Rome and Floyd County, the major leading industry was textiles, period. Oh, we had a stove and a foundry and a few other places, but it was mostly textiles. So that's what I thought I would do. I said, well, let's talk about the coming of textiles into the Rome, Floyd County, northwest Georgia area, really. And that's what happened. I started out, Lindale came in 1895, Anchor Duck 02. Shannon or Brighton about 1924-25, and then Celanese, what we call the silk mill, come out 28-29. And I thought, I'll do something on those, get some pictures, people working in the mill, pictures of the mill. And I love baseball, so I said all the textile league, because I went to some of those as a kid. My dad was a big fan in Lindale and Shannon. We'd travel up there in Atco and places, and and it was just really interesting. So I'm researching and getting pictures up now of those, and then I put that out on Facebook, and somebody said, well, what about the Rome hosiery mill? And I thought, well, what about it? That's where Rome News sits today. Do a little research. I wrote that column. At one time, the Rome hosiery mill had 3 mills in Rome, and they owned a Barrington plant, a sock mill in Chattanooga, and they had over 1,000 employees. So I did one column on that, and I've got a couple of pictures too. I've got several people I hadn't visited yet that have pictures of Anchor Duck and the hosiery mill. Then a lady called me and said, well, what about Primrose Tapestry? And I'd forgotten that. But so I've got a picture of the Primrose Tapestry mill, and I've talked to 2-3 people that lived in their little village. I still haven't got much on the Floyd cotton mill. I hadn't found anybody yet that even worked there. So maybe somebody will read this and call me and tell me about the Floyd cotton mill, which was right across the street from Rome hosiery, and actually Turner McCall got part of it when it came through. Most people my age will remember it as the old Sports Page Bar and Club. That's where the Sports Page was. I need some information on it. There's Harper Manufacturing was in Rome, North Rome, right past Callahan Street. Hadn't got much on that. Got a little bit on Rome Manufacturing. So I'd like to put at least a few pages on all of those in there. I've got a pretty good bit out of Regal in Tryon. I've got some friends up there. And then also in that Class D Textile League, you had Rockmart, Cedartown, and Atco all had Goodyear plants where they made the liner for tires. and they all had teams in there, and I'd like to have some information pictures on those 3 mills or something. I hadn't got any of that. And in Ragland, same thing. So there's still a lot of research to be done on those textile plants and how they were all hooked up. In fact, the ladies had bowling leagues in some of them. I've got one picture of the Tubies ladies bowling league, and my mother used to talk about that. They bowl at duck pins, she called it. They don't have holes in the bowling balls. And they're smaller, and she was very good at that, I understand. But she liked to do it anyway. And that's kind of where we're at with that. And the other book is kind of I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. I haven't titled it yet. The one I just told you about on the textile is called Still Got Cotton in My Blood. I think I can make a case in there that everybody in Floyd County or Northwest Georgia, if you look back, if you're from here, you look back to parents, grandparents, or maybe yourself, aunt and uncle, somebody, school teacher, somebody that had access to you as a kid at some point in time come out of a cotton mill, out of a textile mill. And if they did, they imposed a lot of your values, morals, ethics, team building skills, and everything else on you, whether you wanted it imposed or not. And I think I can make a case for that. That's part of the reason we're the part of the country that we are today, and which is really good for us. And I told some people, I believe if you went to where they get blood drawn and told them to look for cotton fibers, you'd find it. So